Hi, in this video we're going to talk how to evaluate trigonometric functions that are determined by a point on their terminal side. So we're going to be given a point. That point lies on the terminal side of an angle, and we want to evaluate all 6 trigonometric functions. Let's start with an easy case, which is when we have a point in quadrant 1. So everything's positive. Just so that we understand the picture better, we're going to connect this, and we're talking about this angle theta here. Okay, so this distance here between 0 and A is going to be what we're going to call r, and that r is, you find this by using simply the Pythagorean theorem. So it's going to be the square root of 3 squared plus 5 squared, which is going to be square root of 9 plus 25, which is going to be square root of 34. And if you complete this to a right triangle, it should be pretty straightforward here. So let's go ahead and start with sine. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So it's going to be this, which is 5 divided by the hypotenuse, which is square root of 34. So 5 divided by the square root of 34. And we'll rationalize it. It's going to be 5 square root of 34 over 34. Cosine is going to be adjacent over the hypotenuse. So it's going to be 3 divided by r square root of 34, which is going to be 3 square root of 34 divided by 34. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is going to be 5 over 3. Cotangent is going to be adjacent over opposite, so it's going to be 3 over 5. Let's go ahead. Secant. Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, which is going to be square root of 34 divided by 3. And cosecant is going to be hypotenuse over opposite, which is going to be square root of 34 over 5. Okay? So what happens when you are not going to be in quadrant 1? So then we're going to have to rely on the concept of a reference angle. So right here, so this is angle theta, right? But our angle that we're going to be working with is going to be right here. So this is what we're going to have to work with. We just have to remember that some of the values will be negative. Okay, but we're going to have to start by finding r anyway. So r is going to be the square root of negative 5 squared plus 2 squared, which is going to be square root of 29. So let's go ahead and try to find this. So sine theta. So we are not actually using this angle, we're going to be using this angle, which is our reference angle. So sine is going to be opposite over the hypotenuse, which is going to be 2 divided by square root of 29, which is going to be 2 square root of 29 divided by 29. This is where it gets not tricky, but something you need to know. So we do cosine. So with this angle, this side is 5, but it's actually negative 5. So that's what we're going to be using. So it's going to be negative 5 divided by square root of 29, which is going to be negative 5 square root of 29 over 29. Tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 2 divided by negative 5. So negative 2 divided by 5. Cotangent of that angle is going to be adjacent over opposite, so it's negative 5 divided by 2, or negative 2/5. Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, so hypotenuse over adjacent is going to be square root of 29 divided by negative 5, or negative square root of 29 over 5. And cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite, So it's going to be square root of 29 over 2. And there we have it. Right. So now hopefully you have an idea. In this case, we're going to be working with this angle, and if we connect this, well, with this point, so we connect this like that. And whichever way you want to do it, you want to consider that to be a negative angle, or you want to go around and make it a positive angle, would not make any difference. The value of r here is going to be square root of 3 squared plus negative 4 squared, which is actually going to give us 5, right? In this case, it's a Pythagorean triple. And just like we did before, we're going to have to be very careful when we determine that and evaluate each one, because we need to pay attention to signs. So sine theta, sine, this is our right triangle. So sine theta, let's label it theta. Sine theta is going to be opposite over the hypotenuse. So opposite here is negative, right? Negative 4. So negative 4 divided by 5, negative 4/5. Cosine theta is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, which in this case can be 3 divided by 5. Tangent theta is opposite over adjacent, so it's negative 4/3. Cotangent theta is going to be adjacent over opposite, so 3 over negative 4, or negative 3/4. Secant theta is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent, so hypotenuse over adjacent, that's going to be 5/4. And cosecant theta, no, I'm sorry, that's 5/3. Hold on. Yeah, this is 5/3. My apologies. And this one's going to be negative, so we do cosecant, that's hypotenuse over opposite. So hypotenuse over opposite, that's negative 5/4. And I got one last example. So I did not have a point plotted here, so we're going to plot it. Negative 4, negative 5. So now we're in quadrant 3, where, well, I'm going to get to it. So this is our so if we're going to go with angle theta like this, but we are going to use our reference angle here, which is going to be right there, so we can actually have a right triangle. The value of r here is going to be negative square root of negative 4 squared plus negative 5 squared, which is going to be 16 plus 25, that's going to be square root of 41. Alright, so let's go ahead and find everything. So sine theta is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, so opposite here is going to be negative 5, so negative 5 divided by square root of 41, which is going to be negative 5 square root of 41 over 41. Cosine theta is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's negative 4 divided by square root of 41, which is going to be negative 4 square root of 41 over 41. Tangent theta is going to be opposite over adjacent, so it's negative 5 over negative 4, which actually turns out to be positive 5/4. Cotangent theta is going to be adjacent over opposite, which is negative 4 divided by negative 5, which is going to be 4/5. Secant theta is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent, so hypotenuse over adjacent, so it is square root of 41 divided by negative 4, which is negative square root of 41/4. And cosecant is going to be hypotenuse over opposite. So hypotenuse is square root of 41, of course, and opposite is right here, that's negative 5. So it's going to be negative square root of 41 over 5. And that's it.